Good morning, BookTube, YouTube. This is Johnny. I thought I'd make a video since it's a Sunday morning and I'm alone here in the hermit hut and waking up to a cold, gray, wet, I think the last day of summer. I think tomorrow is the first day officially of the autumn season, but I'm not really sure. It is September the 21st, 2025. It is 8:56 in the morning. I'm still waking up. And I thought I would make a video because last week, I can't remember what day it was. It could have been Saturday. No, it wasn't Saturday. Must have been Friday. My wife was doing errands all morning, and when she got home, she said, let's go to Grand Haven and go to Cheap Stacks. Cheap Stacks is there's a big public library in Grand Haven, which is north of us, about 25 minutes. It's right along Lake Michigan, and they have the main library has in the bottom floor a used bookstore called Cheap Stacks, and my wife and I, we at least try to go there once a year, or once when the weather's really nice. And Friday it was hot and sunny, so we went and Cheap Stacks. And so I thought, and I've shown over the years, I've been making videos, other videos of book hauls from Cheap Stacks. The first thing I want to say, okay, we went to Cheap Stacks, and as we were in the store, which is a very small little room, not that big at all. Usually most of the books are library withdrawals. All kinds of books. And I think they're really cheap. I mean, it was that day it was $5 a bag for books. And we took, I'll show you what we took. We took these kind of bags. My wife uses these when she goes grocery shopping. So we filled up 3 of these. My wife had a bag of books, and I had 2 bags of books. So that was $15 for books. And the first thing I do when I go to Cheap Stacks, in the morning I gotta clear my throat, is that I go to the biographies, because you all know I'm into biographies, memoirs, letters, autobiographies, things like that. And as I was looking through the biographies, there was a fellow across from me, and he looked like in his 30s, and he had a little backpack, and he had earplugs, like he was listening to something. And we started talking. I always, if I see somebody, I ask him, what are you into? What kind of books you're into? But immediately when he looked at me, he said, you have the Death to the World t-shirt on. He said, are you Eastern Orthodox? And I said, no. And then I explained to him how I got into these t-shirts, which I'm wearing right now, Death to the World t-shirts. How my son Josiah had been interested in Eastern Orthodox, and he I got these shirts numbers of years ago. So as we were talking, this fellow and I, at Cheap Stacks, he said, I've seen you before. He says, I recognize you. He said, don't you have a YouTube channel? And I said, yeah, I have a YouTube channel. He said, aren't you Keen, K-E-E-N? And I said, yeah, that's who I am. He said, so we had a great talk. So he had watched my videos when he was over in Asia, over in China or Bangkok, can't remember exactly. So we had a really great talk. And he was into Eastern Orthodoxy, and I mean he knew about contemplative life and monasticism, and we were into. So we had a great little talk. His name, I think his name was Derek, and he was in here in America trying to raise money to go back to Asia. But as we were talking, you know, I was talking to him as I was looking through books, and I turned around, and you know, we talked about maybe about 10, 15 minutes. I turned around to talk to him, and I couldn't find him. He had left, and I was kind of disappointed. I wanted to say to him, thank you for watching my videos. If you're watching this video, Derek, thank you for the conversation. I really enjoyed talking to you, and I wanted to hope you the best, you know, rich blessings. And so I was kind of disappointed. I did look for you. If you're watching this video, I went upstairs, looked around the library for you, and I couldn't find you. You must have left the whole library building. But I really enjoyed our conversation, and I really enjoyed talking about spiritual things and about searching and books. And one of the things I mentioned to him is that there are 3 major influences in my life. I know, my throat is totally dry. I said the 3 major influences in my life, I told the fellow at Cheap Stacks, was the Lord Jesus Christ, the Bible, St. John of the Cross, the collected works. And you all know I've been reading St. John of the Cross since 1975. And I told you one of the first books I bought as a Christian was the Spiritual Canticle by St. John of the Cross, which is in the collected works. And then I said the 3rd influence in my life, besides the Lord Jesus Christ, St. John of the Cross, is Jack Kerouac, On the Road. So my wife said she heard me talking to this fellow and said she wondered who I was talking to. But one of the things I wanted to say is that, Derek, that you know, if you're always feel free to stop by here and visit me here in Holland. I know you. I'm not sure if you live in Grand Haven or but where you're staying, but you're welcome to come by and visit. My throat. Anyway, so at Cheap Stacks, these are the books I bought. One of the things I found is this Hand and Other Essays by Edmund Morris. He is a very famous biographer, and he wrote a very famous 3-volume biography on Theodore Roosevelt. Theodore Rex he wrote, and then The Rise of Theodore Roosevelt by Edmund Morris. And then he wrote The Colonel Roosevelt, Edmund Morris. This is the winner of the Pulitzer Prize. So he's very famous for this biography. So I've been reading these essays since I got the book. The Living Hand, This Living Hand, Other Essays by Edmund Morris, Pulitzer Prize winning author of the Theodore Roosevelt trilogy. So that's one of the books I got at the Cheap Stacks. Another book I bought at Cheap Stacks was the Impeachers, The Trial of Daniel Johnson and the Dream of the Just Nation by Brenda Wineapple. I have other books by Wineapple, and I collected them last night. The White Heat, The Friendship of Emily Dickinson and Thomas Wentworth Higginson by Brenda. And then she wrote, this one I've had for a long time, Ecstatic Nation, Confidence, Crisis, and Compromise, 1848 to 1877 by Brenda Wineapple. And then she wrote a book, Sister, Brother, Gertrude and Leo Stein by Brenda Wineapple. She also wrote 2 other biographies, which I don't have. She wrote one on Nathaniel Hawthorne. But, so, she's really one of my, she's a writer, a historian that I collect, biographer. And then I bought, I'm really into the American Indian movement, especially in the 70s, 60s, but there's been a long history of Indian activists, American Indian activists, Native Americans. And this is This Indian Country, American Indian Activists and the Place They Made by Frederick E. Hoke, I can't pronounce, Hoxick. I collect books by the poet W.H. Auden, and this is his A Certain World, A Commonplace. A commonplace book is where you write down quotes from your readings or quotes from something. So this is his commonplace book, which is very interesting, by W.H. Auden. And then I found 2 books. I collect the writings and letters and biographies and books by Jean-Paul Sarte and Simone de Beauvoir. And I found Witness to My Life, the letters of my mind just went blank, but Sarte and Simone de Beauvoir, 1926 to 1939. These are letters. I was reading some of these and they're very, it's just letters to her. As you know, they were lifelong partners. They had a very unusual relationship. They were devoted to one another, but they had other relationships outside of their relationship. I'm not sure if they ever married. I'm not sure. But then I also found A Dangerous Liaison, revelatory new biography on Simone de Beauvoir and Jacques-Paul Sartre by Caroline Sigmore Jones. Now she edited these letters by Simone de Beauvoir. She edited these letters. So they're selections. So I got this from my Sarte and my de Beauvoir collection. I know I'm butchering the names again, but forgive me. I also collect the writings of Peter Ackroyd, and I was surprised I didn't have this one when I cataloged it in my library thing. The History of England from James I into the Glorious Revolution by Peter Ackroyd. Yeah, I have at least 20 books by him. He wrote he was British, so he wrote books on British. Like he has a biography in London. He has a biography, the city of London. And he has all kinds of books. He wrote novels and all kinds of things. He wrote a biography on Charles Dickinson. I think he wrote a biography on William Blake, things like that. This book I just picked up because it looked interesting. It's called The Memory Code, The Secrets of Stonehenge, Easter Island, and Other Ancient Monuments. It goes into prehistory memory. How do we know what people way in the past? We look at their monuments. On Easter Island, you see those big monuments in Stonehenge. And I don't know, it just looked interesting by Dr. Lynne Kelly. Yeah, I'm kind of, it looked kind of interesting. These kind of things. I'm into Russian history. I'm into travel memoirs, which I don't like to travel. But this is Metro Stop, Dostoevsky, I can't pronounce the name. Travels in Russian Time by Ingrid Bengis. It's just a travel memoir of this lady who travels to Russia. I think she left for a while and then she came back and just, it's like a memoir, travel memoir kind of thing. I'm into American political history, American political history. And I'm into FDR. I'm into Theodore Roosevelt, but also Franklin D. Roosevelt. And this is FDR, Al Smith, and the Unlikely Alliance That Created the American Democratic Party by Terry Glway. Yeah, I like reading about American politics, 19th century, 20th century. And I collect books on FDR, and so I grabbed this. This is a book I just saw it laying around on a shelf, and it's called How to Stop Time, Heroin from A to Z by Anne Marlowe. And when I looked in the back, the people that I collect recommended it. Penelope Fitzgerald, Jonathan Latham, Greg Marcus, Brent Easton Ellis. It's from what I can gather, it's about a writer, her growing up and how she got into heroin addiction, but then she goes into the history of heroin and addictions to heroin. So her name is Anne Marlowe. It says here in the back that Anne Marlowe is a New York writer and critic who has written on music, books, culture from the Village Voice, the LA Weekly, Art Forum, and Book Forum. This is her first book, and this came out in 1999. This is another, this is a book by Dean King. I had his book Skeletons on the Sahara, which is, I can't remember exactly what it was about, but I can't find it. But this is his book Unbound, a true story of war, love, and survival. It says in 1934, the Chinese Communist Army found itself surrounded by hundreds of thousands of nationalist soldiers facing annihilation. Rather than surrender, 86,000 Red Army soldiers, including future Chinese leaders Mao Zedong and others, embarked on an epic journey to safety, joining their ranks with a group of 30 remarkably determined women. So it's the historical account of their long march in Chinese history. So that's what I grabbed. I know I'm being very brief, but I'm going on 20 minutes already. I had this novel by J. McInerney, Story of My Life. This is a hardback. I had the paperback. This came out in the 70s, I think. His novel, Bright Lights in Big City, 1988. So, it's usually his novels take place in New York City. They're like New York City kind of novels. People who, I don't know, people who are like in the higher professional life. Anyway, then I found Sam Shepard. Sam Shepard was a very famous playwright. He also was an actor. He wrote many acclaimed screenplays like Paris, Texas. He was awarded the Pulitzer Prize for drama. He's passed away, but these are his, it's called Cruising Paradise, Tales by Sam Shepard. Sam Shepard was a friend of Patti Smith and very interesting character. I have another a novel, memoir kind of by him downstairs. But these are tales by Sam Shepard. So, so it was a smattering of here and there. Yeah, I collect books on drugs, heroin, marijuana, magic mushrooms, LSD. I have a history of heroin downstairs, and I collect his novels. I have them down, but this is a hardback, and I have other novels by him. Yeah, he wrote Bright Lights, Big City, Ransom, but this is a hardback. I collect travel memoirs, even though I don't travel. I collect the writings of Peter Ackroyd. This book looked interesting by Dan Keene. I also have Dean King. He wrote a biography on Patrick O'Brien, who wrote a series of novels, historical novels on, I can't remember, during the Neo-Botanic Wars, naval novels. But he wrote a biography on Patrick O'Brien, A Life Revealed. I have by him down there in the lower level. I collect books. I like reading about American politics, history of American politics. I like reading about ancient monuments, Stonehenge, Easter Islands. I collect books on Sarte and Beauvoir. Yeah, these letters are they're like reading a very detailed diary of the letters. They're very interesting. He was really young. It was like in 1926, he was like in his 20s, and he just goes into great detail about his day-to-day life, writing to her. Very interesting. Yeah, I like Auden. I like his poetry. He wrote some prose pieces, and he lived in England, but he also lived in America. Friends with American poets, but this is his A Certain World, The Commonplace book by H.W. Auden. And I've always been interested in Native Americans, what we call American Indians, which I don't like, but I rather wish I could pronounce all these these tribes that lived in America for thousands of years before we came, the Europeans. But this is Indian Country, American Indian Activists and Place They Made by Frederick E. Hoxie. And then I bought The Impeachers, The Trial of Angel Johnson, The Dream of a Just Nation by Brenda. Apple Wine. And then essays by Edmund Morris, The Living Hand and Other Essays. When we came, so after the after Cheap Stacks and South and Grand Haven, I had to pick up, I ordered this at the Reader's World bookstore in downtown Holland. And I ordered this, it's another Granta, new magazine of new writing. This is the current issue. And the reason why I had ordered it to be at Reader's World is because one of the lead articles is by William T. Voldman on he had an assignment to go to Ukraine and write about Ukraine and what is going on there and the Russian and the Ukrainian war. So I went and I picked this up and reading the article, William T. Voldman goes to Ukraine. So I picked that up on the way after we went to Grand Haven and Cheap Stacks. So that's it. So yeah, I've been primarily reading for my nonfiction afternoons is during watching college football, and today is professional football, this Living Hand and Other Essays. I have not read any of the books by Brenda Wineapple, and I have not read the Theodore Roosevelt trilogy biography. I have not read it. I collect books on Theodore Roosevelt. I collect books on FDR, but haven't read them. So that's it. So Derek, if you see this video, because I'll put on here Cheap Stacks, Grand Haven, contact me. Leave a comment below. I did really enjoy our conversation there at Cheap Stacks, and my wife says I kind of talked more than you did, and I'm still kind of feel guilty about that. But to me, I should never really engage in a conversation with somebody out in the public, because to really have a conversation, you need 2 or 3 solid hours just sitting down in a quiet space where you can just focus on one another. Because I had a lot of questions, a lot of things I wanted to ask you, but I didn't get a chance to. It wasn't really a good environment, there was too much going on. But I did appreciate that conversation I had with you, if you're out there listening to this. And forgive me if I dominated the conversation. I don't know why. Because the only person I really ever talked to besides is my wife. And so when I get out into the public, I think I kind of say too much. I don't mean to take over, because I was really interested in your life and what you're reading and your whole life experiences and your spiritual searches. And I'm also interested in the people out there who watch these videos of me mispronouncing names and book titles and just making a terrible mess. I am interested in your lives, and I do appreciate all the comments, and I do appreciate you watching my videos and subscribing and share with me what you're reading, what you're thinking, your questions. And I do want you to have a good reading week coming up. And yeah, so once again, I hope you're all doing well. And until next time, I suppose. Yeah, today is professional football. I'll probably read this afternoon some more essays, and I don't know what I'm going to read this morning. I've been kind of out of it in the mornings, but I might read something Puritan, but I gotta sign off. Until next time, may the Lord bless. this thing's coming to an end. Bye.